who you are, but seeing what you do, keeping your actions and activities separate from your true identity. It is when out of a set of possible people, there's an equal chance it could be anyone. It means non-attribution to your actions, to be nameless, to be faceless. So let's take a look at privacy again. For example, look at your phone. How much information do you have stored on it, and how safe is it? Do you shop online or exchange information on social media? If you do, then you probably lock your phone too, because you hate people to get that kind of information. As much as you want to think of it, it's already out there. Organizations like Google and Facebook already have that. So it's not just our phone, it's our whole life if you think of it, such as our profile, our financial data, even our locations, our ID. In fact, we have very little control of the information we give them. But due to new laws, we know the government is watching us and watching our cell phone calls, our internet traffic, and so on. All these things are being monitored by our government, and how private is our life? Then we ask ourselves again. So what really is privacy? Privacy is basically the barrier that protects you from people doing things to you. It lets you manage boundaries and by opening up to things and people you trust, and shut out things we don't trust. Now, anonymity, on the other hand, is being unidentifiable, unreachable, even untraceable. It's a technique. We have basic examples of being anonymous. For example, you voting during election. Yeah, when we vote during election, nobody knows who we're voting for. In that case, they won't say he voted for this, because as we're voting anonymously, not with our names. That is being anonymous. Or even some acts of charity where benefactors do not wish to be acknowledged, or probably a witness in a crime and doesn't want to show himself. So that's it. So then we have pseudonymity. It is when you wish to retain a reputation against your identity. A common example is having an alias for social media or for a forum online. An adversary may not know who you are, but can attribute posts and activities to you. For example, we go online and then we write blogs and we say John. We call ourselves John. People don't know who John is. People don't know where John lives. People don't know anything about John. We just know this post is attributed to John. It's not the real John. Your name is not John, but that's the name you use. That is pseudonymity. So we have these images on privacy and anonymity, and I hope it gives you a brief on what it actually is. So now we have our cybersecurity landscape diagram, and now we understand the difference between privacy, anonymity, and pseudonymity, which brings us to security. Here we can see our assets. These are the things we care about and the things we want to keep private, like our files or our accounts, our financial emails, things that may not relate to anonymity or an identity, and not wanting association with the identity. Maybe our browser history, what we download, what we post, and so on. The assets are individual to your personal needs, and to protect these assets, we apply security through various security controls like VPN encryption, OPSEC patching, HTTP filters, OpenGPG, your lock screens, and others, as you can see here. So this means that security is the degree to which our assets are resistant to threats from our adversaries. And we select security controls based on the type of threats that we face. Threats are the bad things that can happen, like a malware attack, like mass surveillance, like exploit kits, weakening of encryption, and virus infection, and others. And these threats are enabled by our adversaries, which might be hackers, cyber criminals, oppressive regimes, and maybe something like your ex-partner if you're lucky. And you can also see here these red triangles that represent vulnerabilities, bugs, and weaknesses in our security controls. The threat will try to exploit these vulnerabilities in our security to impact our assets. For example, malware infecting your computer through vulnerability of being unpatched. And I like to use this formula. You have risk. Your risk is equal to your vulnerabilities times your threats times your consequences. And that is a very easy way of representing it. Well, the likelihood of threats exploiting vulnerabilities in our security controls and consequences of it is known as risk. Now, the risk to your assets, the risk to your privacy and anonymity, and the threats and adversaries you faced. This is called your threat landscape and your threat model, as you can see here. So your threat landscape is going to be individual to you in the section of Know Your Enemy, which we'll better understand later. The threats and adversaries that are out there, so you can assess your individual threat landscape. This threat landscape is going to be individual to you. It is going to be based on the kind of threats and adversaries that are out there and affect you, so you have a way of mitigating them. Although we will share a lot of common threats and adversaries as hackers, cyber criminals, and so on, though we may not have all an unfortunate expert now. So you can clearly see security does not exist in isolation. There is not one size that fits all solution. Your security controls will be selected based on your ability to mitigate your perceived threats and adversaries and the consequences of that realization. For example, you might select Tor as a security control to help mitigate against mass surveillance, the threat of mass surveillance from an oppressive regime, and you might choose Tor because the consequences are high in terms of your identity. And once your identity is known, consequences will be realized. So you must implement security controls to protect your assets, to ensure privacy and anonymity and pseudonymity if you require it. Security is a technology, yes. Security is also an action. It helps you, is a process. It's very important to understand that security controls are not just technology. You must understand that security controls are processes and actions. Your actions are in fact one of the most important security controls to protect your assets and mitigate threats and adversaries. The outcome of a suitable security process and technology is the protection of your assets, privacy, and anonymity. So we're going to do this brief practical to generate hidden hacker traps using canary tokens. So if you've been bored throughout the lecture, I'm sorry, but this is a brief practical that will give you an insight on maybe how security works. This token will be triggered when accessed by an unwanted party, as you can see here. You go to the website, click the start creating tokens. We're going to input our email address and a brief comment on why we want to use this comment. Then select our DNS HTTP, click generate token. Then after the token is generated, you scroll down, you click Microsoft Word. You could pick anything. You see options there, but I prefer to use Microsoft Word for this tutorial, so it's going to be easier for you. When it is accessed, you go to your email and then you get a token, a pop-up that, oh, someone has accessed this. So let's see. So this is it. So we have the canary tokens. We click start creating tokens. When we click start creating tokens, so we have this. We input our emails. After inputting our email, we leave a comment on why we did it. We select the DNS/HTTP, and then it says generate token, accept terms and conditions, generate token. After we do that, we scroll down and pick a Microsoft Word to download our document.